Hey there, this is Sheena Rowlands and today I'm sharing with you my latest layout for Just Nick, a cut file store. For this layout I've used background 19, which you can see there in the image, but actually on my silhouette I managed to remove two of the triangles of the pattern, so I think it gives it a completely different look. Really easy to do using the cut function, but you could have actually trimmed that out by hand as well. So that was just cut with white cardstock. I've got two photos there of myself and my husband that I wanted to use. They're quite formal, and so I decided that I was trying to find a range to use with them, and this is Cocoa Vanilla Studio Unforgettable. Now I've used some of this before, so you'll find there's not full sheets necessarily, but I decided that actually the pattern paper in the 6x8 pad, to start with the smaller patterns, might be just what I need to back this cut file with. So I'm just having a look at all the bits and pieces I've got left. I really love this flower cluster, and I'm going to use that as the inspiration for choosing the paper to go behind the cut file. So I'm not intending to back the whole file. I just actually want to pick out certain parts. So I'm just trying various different papers to see what they look like. I think the more solid ones work best. Particularly like that grey one as well that I've tucked under, but I'm just making sure that I pick the right papers for me. Now I've laid this cut file on a tealy green piece of basil cardstock, but actually I think I prefer the paler one, and I bring that in, and actually that does soften the whole layout completely. So it takes me a while to make that final decision, but the paler cardstock is definitely better for the background, and I think it really helps make that cut file pop. I really like this wood grain, so I'm going to use that to back my photographs to start with. So I'm just going to trim that down to size. The photographs I think are 3x4 pretty much. I'm going to overlap them a little. They're they're very similar, but they are different pictures, so that's how I'm going to use those. Potentially I may put another layer in behind them as well once I've made some choices. So I'm just still trying to ponder what papers that I want to use. When I look at this pattern I see some big flowers, and then I see some leaves, and I see some little like diamond shapes. So I'm looking for 3 different papers really to back this cut file with. So I've just brought out a pencil, so I'm going to actually draw around the outside of the cut file. So I know that the paper needs to be that big, essentially. It's possibly a little bit big and they get trimmed down nearer the time, but I'm just going to now cut a load of the grey, because it's going to be a repeating pattern, and so then I can add it to the little bits up the side as well. So I'm trying to get those little white lines in the same direction. Whether you'll actually notice that when the cut file all comes together and the photos are on, I don't know, but it makes me feel better if they all match in the same direction. I'm really trying to find the paper I want for the flowers. I don't want it to be too bright, but obviously I want it to be one from this range. So that is taking up a little bit of my time. And in the end I decide that actually I like this watercolour flowery one. And here it is. Once I've finished, I've put some 3D foam pads on the back, and I'm just going to stick that to the cardstock. So I know that that is actually in position. So in the centre I've just added some double-sided tape, but for the rest of it there's some foam pads, and I'm going to just peel off the backings and get that stuck onto the cardstock. You think this would be an easy task, but it does become a little bit tricky, because obviously now that the cut file isn't a square and it's now essentially 2 triangles joined in the centre, it's moving a little bit more freely, and I'm struggling to keep it square. So it does take me a few minutes to actually get it stuck down the way that I would like it on top of this cardstock. I'm really pleased with the papers that I picked though. So I've got the grey, and then I've got like the light green, and then I've got that watercolour flower paper that's come in as well. I think it really looks good behind this cut file. So I know it took me a while to make a choice, but I think it was definitely the right choice. I've added a pop of pink behind the photos as well, because I think once I start to add some flowers and ephemera, we will need that. So I've added that behind the photographs, and I'm going to just tuck one inside the other, and I will think then about sticking them down so that I can actually move on to doing the embellishing. So just a couple of foam pads on the back there, because obviously with the cut file being raised, now everything else is going to be a little higher. So next is I'm going to bring in some of the flowers. Now I fussy cut these, I think it's from the Glorious paper from this Unforgettable range, and they're like clusters. So I've cut out ones, full ones, and then ones from the edges of the paper just to tuck in around the photograph. Obviously I don't want to cover the cut file, I love the regal feel of it behind the photographs, but I just want to add some softness there at the bottom and to tie in with the flowers in the cut file. I think the colours all go really well, obviously, because I'm using the same range, and I think it makes it really cohesive. And there's a few little extra single flowers and like fronds that are in a grey colour, so I'm going to tuck those in around it as well, just to add that softness at the bottom. So I'm really pleased with the way that that's looking. I don't think it's going to need too much more because there's quite a lot going on with the cut file, so I've stuck all those flowers down. Bit of foam pads between them as well, and now I'm just looking for a title. This is by Sheenanigans, a UK embellishment company that I run, and it's 3D printed. Obviously, as you say, it says you and me, and I'm just going to add a couple more bits and pieces around it, but I'm happy with the way that looks. So just added a few butterflies and some splatters off camera. Here's the full image and some peaks. So if you like what you see, check out my YouTube channel and subscribe. Check out Just Nick, and there's lots of new things in the shop. Cut files on literally on a weekly basis. So have a look there, and goodbye for now.